Arsenal's first attempt to sign Emi Buendia this summer has been rejected by Norwich City, and they do run the risk of Buendia looking elsewhere, with the likes of Aston Villa also circling for the player's signature this forthcoming summer. Antonio Conte to Spurs is imminent, as reported by multiple sources in the last few hours. We're going to be discussing Trent Alexander-Arnold and him being out of Euro 2020 in more detail. Plus, we are ranking the player of the year tonight. We're tiering and we're ranking live on the air who you think and who we think has been the best Premier League player this season. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Here we go. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Good evening. Arsenal Football Club have submitted a £30 million bid for Norwich City playmaker and creator Emi Buendia. That has been rejected. They are still £10 million shy of the asking price, according to reports across the mainstream media and social media this evening. We want your reaction to that, Gooners. I want to say this bluntly without sounding salty. You've stopped shopping at Waitrose. That's done and dusted. Sainsbury's. No. You are now, you're shopping Asda now. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You can get some great bargains in Asda. I personally, I'm an Aldi guy myself, right? Just to put that out there. But you're still scrimping and scraping. When you go down to that level, when you're shopping lower down the echelon, surely you've just got to get the £40 million bid in. Or are you happy with the negotiation tactics? Are you happy to take the risk of somebody else swooping him and taking Buendia away from your grasp? We want to hear from you right now. We want to hear from you right now. £30 million offer made. Although, this is the thing, Norwich are ready to sell, but they're demanding 40 million. Who is going to win this battle? I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. You might think, I tell you, you've been out of order. We're going to drive the price down. We're happy. Come on the air tonight. Give us your views. Give us your opinions. A little later on in the show, we've got Gem and Prime backstage already. We're going to be ranking and we are going to be tiering the Premier League player of the year. It's ready to go. From the best to class, very good. Good and overrated. We're ranking that tonight live on the air. Can't wait to go through that with each and every single one of you. Comment here says we will offer 35 mil plus add-ons. That could be it. That could be it. That could get the deal done. And then maybe then you were right to do it. Aldi, great German chocolate. Very true. Very true. Joe, I go Aldi. It's good value. I'm not saying it ain't good value. Just is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I'm Aldi. I'm an Aldi person. I prefer Aldi to Lidl. I don't even know why. I've heard it's pretty much the same stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. Man said rejected. It is rejected. Right now, the bid hasn't been accepted. It hasn't been accepted. So we want 40 mil. That's a rejection to me. Unless I'm misinterpreting that. And if I am, feel free to come on the air and explain to me how I've got this wrong. I also want to speak about Trent. He's out. He's out of the Euros. And I feel sorry for him, firstly. I then feel sorry for the English because we've lost one of the best players in the world from our squad. That is gutting. The saving grace is we have Reece James, we have Kieran Trippier, we have Kyle Walker. There is adequate cover from a defensive point of view for his position. I still believe I'm hearing rumors it's Jesse Lingard replacing him. I'm seeing other rumors that it might be Ward-Prowse, but we will see. I want your views and your opinions on that. I want all your views and all your opinions on that. Terry, we will get Buendia. He is not even that good. You don't think he's that good? Come on. He's better than all your creative players right now. Every single one of them. He's better than, from a creative point of view, he's almost the best he'd be the best in your club almost instantly overnight. It'd be a great signing. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Someone says, Terry, what's your source? I don't have a source. I literally don't have sources. I report on what the mainstream media journalists are talking about. That's it. So I don't need a source. I don't have an agent. I ain't talking to the clubs. We report on the news. No source. Just media facts. You know what I mean? That's all it comes down to. Terry is in an extra... How am I being salty, Herb? The news is you bid 30. It's been rejected because they want 40. What's that got to do with me? What have I done? I don't make the news up. Come on, my friend. Come on. Don't have a pop at me. But that's what's... I'll read the whole tweet out. Arsenal and Aston Villa have made the reason I'm not reporting on Villa's bid is because we don't report on anyone outside the top 6 plus 1, right? Arsenal and Aston Villa have made a 30 million pound offer for Emi Buendia, but Norwich, who are ready to sell, have said no and are demanding 40 million plus. That's the tweet or the information. I don't know what to say about that. It's as simple as that. There we go. If you put gamble sources, well, we had a tier 1 journalist on the terrace only a few hours ago. I don't know where you were, but it was pretty good. It was good fun. Oh, and that's going to overflow. Oh, I ruined it. Look, stay to me, mate. Stay to me, bruv. All over me desk there. Absolute wrong one. Random Manchester is red. There we go. In other news tonight, N'Golo Conte is imminently going to be arriving at Tottenham. That's according to Evening Standard journalist Alex Young. This was also kind of echoed by, I think, another Alex and Alex Crook earlier on today. A journalist that a lot of Tottenham fans that I saw on social saying was true. But the headline tonight is Antonio Conte's appointment is imminent now at Tottenham. That was posted about an hour and 40 minutes ago now. We know he is on his way. We are wanting to hear from you and talk to you about that as well. We're going to be bringing the panel on to have their say as well. Did I say N'Golo Kante? Sorry. Slip of the tongue. I like to keep you on your toes. You heard that. You're listening? Good. There we go. I said Conte would never go to Tottenham. I was wrong. Most people, even some of the best Spurs journalists a week or so ago, all said straight up, just went, it's not happening, is it? Straight out, they were like, no, unlikely. Right from unlikely to not happening, never going to happen. He wasn't a name that Spurs were linked to when they sacked Jose because no one thought he was leaving Inter. So it's come out of the blue. I said it the other night, right? You've got to give credit to Tottenham. This deal is to a degree falling on their laps. There's no doubt about it. But so what? Josh here says Arsenal fighting Villa for a championship player while Spurs are getting the best available manager in the world unchallenged. That's a pretty good super chat, if I'm being honest. That's a pretty good super chat, to be fair. Arsenal fans, does it irk you? Does it get under your skin? When you see and you hear that? I really want to know. Mason Mount here says Buendia over Smith Rowe is what's being said here. Terry, you're just sorry if I made you Google N'Golo Kante. Do you know what it is? I say Conte for Antonio Conte and I say Kante for N'Golo Kante. But people all day have been listening to news. So many people refer to Kante as Conte and Conte as Kante. It's been in my head. That's what it is. So it's coming out in me now as well. The amount of people I hear call Antonio Conte, Antonio Kante, it actually annoys me. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Same as N'Golo Kante. I thought Kante is Kante. Maybe it is Conte with an accent. I don't know, but it's confused me today. It's hurt my brain a little bit. There's no doubt. Right, let's do some more of these comments. Terry, why do Arsenal live rent-free even when we're so bad? It's called rivalry, my brother. And do you know what I always love when it comes to rivalry within football? I always love it where people get kind of salty that their rivals are being rivals. And I just think, I don't know what people expect. If Man United do well, I expect people to play it down, bitterness. If we do badly, I expect everyone to laugh at us. That's the way the world is. Like, you know, if Man United won the Champions League next year, do you know how much I'd laugh at City, considering that they have had the best decade in their history as a football club? But yeah, and we've had the worst in the last 30, 40 years. And if we were to win one, it'd be like, and we still won another European trophy before you, like you did. Of course you do. You always banter rivals. I never understand the kind of, oh, why are you thinking about us? One of the first things I think about if my team wins something major is how can I use this to rub salt into the wounds of my rivals? You're meant to. You're absolutely meant to. And if that would disappear from football, football would be over. Absolutely over. Gooner Express here says, hey, Terry, keep up the good work, mate. Massively appreciate you giving us all the latest news. Not a problem at all, my guy. Not a problem at all. Remember, we're going to be starting a ranking show in about 5 to 10 minutes time. Anyone fancy joining it tonight? Anyone fancies joining? Send me a DM now. You got to be good, though. If you DM me and you've been on before and you're bang average, you're not getting on tonight. You're not getting on. Like, good people. So, who is that? But yeah, let me know. Let me know. I'm confused. Anyway, let's do some more of these comments that are coming through here. Nothing gets under my skin regarding Tottenham. Conte is found to Tottenham, Terry, not to the club that takes advantage of him and wins us something. I don't get what you mean. Conte is bound to Tottenham, Terry, not to a club that takes advantage of him and wins things. Oh, okay, I get you. I kind of get what you're saying there. Sorry, maybe you meant bound instead of found. It's going to certainly be interesting to see how it plays out. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Why is everybody comparing Conte to Jose? Jose is finished and Conte is in his prime. Yeah, I do think that's weird. Terry, should Levy sell Kane so Spurs can rebuild? I don't think that's a wild claim or thought. I really don't think it's a wild claim or thought, but we'll see. We'll kind of see how that kind of pans out and how that works. We'll see. Let's do a few more of these comments, and we're gonna get the guys on to have their say and to talk about these subject matters with us before we go into the full ranking session here to see what these comments are saying. Why is everyone... Okay, I've already had that comment. It's come up again. I'm just a happy spectator, just chilling with a whiskey. Love the shows. Thank you very much, Simon. That picture, you look very young to be drinking whiskey. Maybe that's a picture of one of your children or something. But there we go. I saw that. I thought, wow, that's a young whiskey drinker, you know. Terry, do a fantasy league. Probably not. Time, innit? Time. Not always got the time for these things. Terry, do you think Conte will get Spurs top 4? It depends on who they sign and who they keep, but he could. Where rivals have got to be scared of Spurs with Conte, he can make Harry Winks look like a baller. He can make Serge Aurier look as good as Trent Alexander-Arnold. And people might go, no, he can't. Ask Chelsea fans. Ask Chelsea fans what he got out of certain players in that squad. Cahill's, Vicky Moses. Come on. He made some of these guys unbelievable. The way he's rejuvenated players in Italy, taking them to next levels, unbelievable. So I am definitely fearful. There's no doubt. We're going to get Prime and Gem on now to have their say with us this evening. First of all, Prime is here, Gem's here as well. Evening, gents. How you doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hope you're all good.
Evening. Yeah, good. I'm grand. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts, first of all, as Chelsea fans? I want to go to Jem first on this. Conte to Spurs. How are you feeling about it now that it looks imminent?
Surprised, to be honest, would probably be the word. I keep saying it. It surprised me that Conte was even linked to them in the first place. It's the kind of manager that you bring in, a bit like Jose Mourinho. It's sort of like a short stint manager. He'll come in and he'll try and, win you something within a year or two, and then he moves on. It's very clear he's always done that. He's done it at Chelsea, done it in Milan now. But it's very weird that he's gone to a team like Spurs, who, for me, could potentially be losing. They could be losing to Harry Kane. If he goes there without Harry Kane, and he's required to win things, then he surely must be given money at least. So for me, it's going to be an interesting one. I'd love to have him back in the Premier League because I think he's a top quality manager. He's a manager that can get the best out of I say crap individual, but average players. He can get the best out of them, providing that they fit and suit the system that he sets up as well. So for me, it's going to be interesting. It looks like he's going to be coming over, and at least it sort of increases that competition level, Terry, because in having him there, we're going to have some of the best managers again in the world all fighting it out in the Premier League next season. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. How about yourself, Prime? What's your take on it?
I think it's interesting. I rate Conte highly, but it's weird.
Someone knocking at your door.
Yeah, maybe there's an.
What is that? Prime's got someone locked up.
Someone's knocking on his cupboard door. Let
me out. Let me out of there. Prime was also like, what is that? That was Chelsea. End of the day, he's going to Spurs. I do hear you, but as Jem just said, he has a knack of improving people, and if I was, I would just be legitimately concerned about it. I really, really would. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. In terms of we wait for Prime to come back.
Yeah.
In terms of the Trent Alexander-Arnold news today, him being injured out for 6 weeks, bad news for England, or do you think there's enough cover to not be concerned about it?
I think he's the best going forward out of all the ones that we've taken. I think this is again going to sound pretty wild, but when you think of people being able to create and knock a ball and in the way that David Beckham did, for example, for me, he's the closest to that, being able to pick up the ball and knock a long ball over the top. So for me, he's a big miss because I think we lack creativity, to be honest, when you look at the players that are currently there. So going forward, definitely. I don't think so more in terms of the defensive element of things, because, having Trippier there, I think Trippier's good, probably going both ways, to be honest. Reece James can do both jobs going both ways. And I think Kyle Walker, who probably predominantly will sit as one of the three at the back. I think there's enough cover there, to be honest, Terry. I really do, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Alan's here with us as well. And of course, a Spurs fan, we spoke earlier about his sort of happiness in relation to Conte being on his way. We'll talk England for a moment. Trent Alexander-Arnold being out. Good, bad, or indifferent news to you?
Bad. I think he should have gone. There shouldn't have been all that problem with him. Should have gone in the first place. I think he was going to be used more attacking than defensive. So I think that's why I think personally he'll take Lingard as a replacement. Because I think Lingard's more attacking than Ward-Prowse, although Ward-Prowse got a good delivery, which is what Trent was probably going to be used for. So I'm disappointed about Trent getting injured, because for me, he should have been one of the first names on there for his attacking ability.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was one thing I was so confused about. Is I never really understood. When like Chris Smalling was sort of dropped by Southgate, I got it because he wasn't very good on the ball. Trent's admission never really made any sense to me. Not with the fact that we often play with wing backs anyway, and you don't need Trent to be overtly defensively minded in those circumstances. But he's out now. Could be Lingard that comes in. I have seen some kind of sort of soundings that it could be Ward-Prowse. I don't really get the Ward-Prowse inclusion.
I do, to a degree, because I think you miss assists with Trent, and with Ward-Prowse, he'll give you that again. He's a creator. And you look across that England team, and we've got a lot of players that like the ball to feet. and drive with the ball. Not particularly guys that like picking the ball up, looking up, and playing the ball. So I think losing Trent that's what we specifically miss. So a Ward-Prowse coming in, he would probably give you that, an eye for a pass, an eye for a sort of a killer ball over the top. So that's the only reason I can think he comes. Because if you bring a Lingard, he's the same as Grealish. He's probably the same as Foden in terms of their style of play. I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about levels here. Style of play. They want ball feet and they want to drive. Or they run into spaces. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. In relation to him, the problem is when I look at Ward-Prowse, and I don't know if I'm being disrespectful. It's part of the season, I saw a really good footballer in games, but it's so short-lived. Back into the season, I thought he was so average. He's the best free kick taker I've ever seen in the Premier League, but it ain't the NFL. Like you need more than that. He worries me. Like he makes Jordan Henderson look like Xavi. That's like the difference. The difference in Ward-Prowse's balling ability in the middle compared to say Henderson is the difference between Henderson and Xavi. Like I think there's that much of a difference in terms of how you do in a game when there's pressure, when it's on top. I'm not overtly convinced by him, if I'm being honest. But what's your view on it, Prime? As a non-England fan, what's your thoughts?
I mean, unfortunately, Trent is injured, but personally, I wouldn't have him in the squad anyway. I think with Trent defensively, he is a liability. And whenever I've seen him play for England at right back, it's the big weakness you have. And England is not great defensively anyway. You guys are complaining about Pickford being first choice. You say Henderson should play, but I don't think Henderson's that great either. You have a problem with your centre back for some weird reason. I think having Trent not being in there, unfortunately, he's injured, so you shouldn't celebrate that, but it might be a blessing in disguise for you guys.
Maybe. Man like Slenzer's joined us. We've got Tom Little coming in as well now. Nice little panel here tonight. I'm enjoying this, especially for the ranking show that's coming up for the Player of the Year.
You're not hot, bro. You're not hot.
Tom.
Is he not hot?
No?
Yeah. No? Not hot where you are?
No.
Man's not hot.
Man's not hot. Man's not hot. I hear that.
Hey, Terry, can I say something about Conte, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Of course you can.
Listen, just the thing about him. Number one, I think Chelsea fans who worship this guy, I'm just glad that's going to be done and over with, because so many of the fans have an obsession with Conte and the 2 years he had. I'm very grateful for the title he's had. But I'll tell you what, we've seen two sides of Conte. We've seen the good and the bad. And Terry always talks about Mourinho not being happy. Let me tell you what, man. When Conte is not happy, sabotage is in the building, man. Like, I've seen him make some crazy decisions. I've seen him sign some players that we're still suffering from right now. I think if you don't back him to the last minute, he can be a very toxic man. And listen, he's got a big ego, and deservedly so. He's a champion. But I think at times, I look at the Tottenham and the Conte situation, listen, it can end in tears. I'll tell you that. Like, you might get a trophy or two from it, but I'll tell you what, it will end in tears. Because the second season under Chelsea, it was probably the worst football I've ever seen in my club. And I've watched my club for a long time.
Exactly. Also, Terry, you mentioned the fact of what he got from Gary Cahill and the likes. Yes, he turned Alonso and Moses into the best wing-backs in the world, but Chelsea had the basis of a title-winning team. I know what happened the season before we finished 10th, but the season before that, we won the league. So him coming in, we already having Hazard and Costa and Fabregas. Yes, we bought Kante and that was massive, but we had the basis of a title-winning team. He went to Inter Milan and they backed him for 2 years with the signings he wanted to build a squad. I don't think Spurs will do that.
I do understand that. I do understand that, and I'm not dismissing it. Equally, I'm not claiming that he's going to win the title with Spurs. I'm saying that he could. I've said this about Spurs all season. I think Spurs fans, forget rivals, they're all meant to say each other's squads are rubbish. I think Spurs fans have dismissed how many good players they have in their squad, how many very good players and how many top-class players they have. Conte, I keep doing it. Conte is the kind of manager, if you've got, he takes 5 out of 10 players and he makes them 6.5, 7. And I think that he will elevate the Tottenham squad. They will buy players for him. I don't think, as I was talking to Christoph earlier on today, it was a fascinating conversation. We were also talking about it. Sorry, I lent on the spacebar. We're also talking about it backstage as well. So I am going to reveal this because it's not. He knows Conte. Like he literally said, "When I'm done here, I'm gonna phone Antonio Conte." Man's got his number, right?
Hey, that's mad. Hey, come on.
I was like, oh wow. I was like, I haven't hit record or nothing. I was like, so he knows him, and he said on air a little bit. I teased him a little bit that a lot of journalists are holding back with the news because Conte's a very hard negotiator. So Conte could say, "Deal's done. I'm flying over." Fly over, land in London, drive to the offices and say, "By the way, I want 3 million more now by like a year." That's the kind of man he is.
Don't surprise me.
But Levy is going to have to make some massive promises to get him to come in. And I think year one, they're going to have to deliver on those promises. And the first big one is you do not sell Harry Kane. Now, we all know in the transfer market, the only way that might change is if they go, "Listen, Antonio, Chelsea have offered 160 million pounds. I'm not saying you have, but say you did." He might then go, "Do I get all that money to spend on players?" Yes, get it done because I can build something with that's more potent than Harry Kane's goals at our club. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it operates. But I'm loving it. And I don't know about you, Alan, because I think that most Spurs fans know what you're saying is true. It could go one way or the other with him. But is that not exciting, Alan, as a Spurs fan, to know that you have no idea what's coming now?
Exactly. For me, it is. I mean, it could end up in tears, but then it could be he's not as aggressive or putting people out, like throwing people on the bus like Mourinho. So I think it's not going to be as bad as that. But for me, it's either going to go really well and Levy's going to put his hand in his pocket and spend like he's not done before to keep Conte happy. Or it could be that he doesn't do that and Conte goes, "After 6 months, I'm done," and walks out. And then we're like, well, now we know where our club is.
Can you
It's
imagine
going to be one of them things?
Can I just say, though, you're saying you won't throw players under the bus. You do realize you called one of our best strikers in our history and told him not to show up again. I need to send him a text in the summer. Like this man does not care. I'm telling you, he does not care. Does not care. So listen, what I'm saying is,
the other thing I think we'd have to sort of generalise this is it's not like Spurs haven't already had a manager like this come through the door. Jose Mourinho is that kind of manager. You know, he came in.
Yeah.
He was told that he needed to win things. He was supposedly meant to have been backed. The guy got you to a final, which you then decided to sack him. It's not the thing with I don't think the issue with Spurs is the managers. I think the issue with Spurs is the board, is the people that are actually in charge. Because you bring a Conte in, he does the same thing. They say he gets you to a cup final.
So guys, Chelsea fans especially, I get why you're putting negatives out there because there are some negative connotations. But what if it goes well? Like, let's answer the other side that now. What if it goes well?
It's a possibility, isn't it? Like, come on,
listen, I just don't think the heights they will reach are things that are like heights that will worry me as a Chelsea fan. I don't see him winning the league title, but I do think he'll be your most successful manager in regards of trophies, in regards of maybe an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. Do you know what I mean? Are you in the Conference League as well? You're in the Conference League, so he could win that as well. Yeah. I know he's not great in Europe, but it's a competition that he can win.
Yeah. Terry, you said it could go well. Define well. Because people can agree to disagree with me, but in terms of this season, I don't think overall it was that bad with Mourinho. You can say toxicity and whatever, but in terms of the position you were in the league up until he got sacked and getting to a final, I don't see any much different from what Conte would do. Like, he could win you the Conference League or the Carabao or whatever, and you would be hovering around the top four race. I don't see how that be any different.
One doth protest too much, he thinks.
I don't see how that would be any different, to be honest. And again, if you define that as success, that is fine. That's great. There are some Spurs fans who are saying stuff like...
Okay. So go on. Finish.
There are some Spurs fans who are saying stuff like, let's get knocked out of the Conference League early and go all out for the league.
Okay, right. See,
again, that's stupid, isn't it, Prime?
You can't. I'm not one of them people. I'm Terry Fleurs, host, CEO, MD of the Football Terrace. Right. So forget all them man yet. Right. I just thought I'd throw that in for a laugh. Right. What I'm saying is success. When I look at Spurs, is qualification for the Champions League and a trophy. You've got to understand how massive that is for a team that doesn't win trophies.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Listen, I just want to clarify something. I'm not slandering Conte. I appreciate the title he's brought. It was an incredible achievement. Listen, it was a league title winning squad a year before, but we did finish 10th. And listen, as you've mentioned many times in the show, Victor Moses, Gary Cahill, all of these players, he squeezed the juice out of them. Like it was incredible what he's done. So I'm just giving you the other argument. I'm just as a rival fan, I'm just warning you, letting you know.
I hear it 100%. We're going to change the tone slightly. We are going to get to the ranking show very soon, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to speak about Arsenal's so far failed attempt to sign Emi Buendia. We know that teams often bid low and it goes higher. Part of the story that I was shown tonight stated that there's no kind of pressure, that they don't feel the deal is going to go ahead because, of course, he's away with international duty with, I want to say Argentina, with Argentina. But Buendia to Arsenal, thoughts on that deal? Will it go through?
Who knows?
I think so.
I think a player that's scored 15 goals with 16 assists. You know, he's the mold of player that Arsenal needs. Someone that can come in, score goals, but also create. They miss a creative player massively in that team. That's one thing that they're dying for, they're thriving for, and I think they've got to just go all guns out for him. If that's their target, if that's the kind of player that they want, then they should go for him. Whether he can do it in the Premier League is yet to be seen. Let's be serious. But at the end of the day, how much is he going for? How much is it?
Well, Norwich are willing to sell. They want 40 million. Arsenal have offered. I've heard it. I've heard one thing said it was 30 mil. Someone said 30 plus some add-ons. And Norwich have said no.
I mean, Terry, it's not bad when you look at his stats this season, is it? 15 goals and 16 assists. I mean, you spend 30, 40 mil on a player that's done that in one season, and you'd think to yourself, it might be a risk. Every player's a risk, but if it works, what a signing, for 40 mil, you know? So
I think he's a great player, but I'll just find it funny if he rejects them, man. I just find that hilarious. A championship player. He's a good player.
I can't see it happening. But can you imagine if he picked Villa instead of them?
First Martinez, then Buendia. What is it with Argentinians and Arsenal?
It's a wake-up call for the Arsenal fans, man. It's a wake-up call.
Can you imagine?
That will answer my question about pulling power. When I said to these men, Igal, Kesh, all of them, I said, you lot ain't got the pulling power you think you've got. I'm telling you, if that happens, then that just answers most of my questions. I'm telling you now. Buendia from Norwich.
Sorry, are Norwich getting promoted then, are they, yeah? Norwich.
Yeah.
Well, he could well rather stay and just finish the project that he's currently working on.
Yeah, can you imagine? I actually hope it doesn't happen. Do you know why? Because there's this element of I like laughing at rivals, but you get to that point. You have someone in your life that you don't like, but then you see too many people are kicking them when they're down, and you're a little bit like, I need to step in and defend you here. Be like, all right, guys, leave it out now a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Speak for yourself, Terry.
So bad for him. I really would. We're going to move on to the rankings show now, ladies. We are going to bring some more of you in a little bit later to have your say on some of these subject matters. We're going to start the ranking and the tiering session for Player of the Season now. Not all of the PFA's nominated players are there because I thought one of them didn't deserve it, especially after walking out of the Champions League final because he had a little bump on the nose. Oh, a little bump on the nose. He couldn't carry on in Kevin De Bruyne. Leaving a Champions League field crying because of a minor injury, it's tin pot. And no player of mine would ever do that. I know that Chelsea player's never done it. A Liverpool player definitely has done it. Oh, shoulders.
Terry,
I can't even defend
that. I'm only joking. I know it was more than he's got a fraction. That's mad, right? For me, what Rudiger did was on purpose in terms of stopping him. The fact he fractured his eye socket. I mean, how does that not constitute as endangering an opponent?
Blame the mask. That's all I'd say. That mask was made of metal.
If it was VAR check, do you think he'll get sent off? Because how they...
You know that certain rules in football or laws I don't understand. I don't understand how he can deliberately body check him. We all know he did. Break his nose and fracture his eye socket and it not be considered in danger, like serious foul play. Equally, if I go into a tackle when I'm late or I win the ball but I snap your leg, it's a red card, right?
Yeah, dead. Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
If I go up for a ball in the box, go for a header and I miss the header, but I headbutt your head and I fracture your skull, it's not even a foul.
Accident.
It's an accident. I don't certainly, I'm not having a pop at any player. I'm saying certain little nuances in the rules in football and the laws where I'm like, I don't get that. Like, you're late. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? No one goes out their way. Like Rudiger didn't try to break his eye socket. Like he didn't try to do that, but he did it. Like I get confused over those rules. But yeah, KDB is not included.
Okay.
KDB has not been included in the Player of the Year. I didn't think he deserved it, but I have added a few additional players in to the mix tonight, as you can all see here. So the players up for the award tonight are Mason Mount, Diaz, Kante, Gundogan, Bruno, Kane, Rice, Foden, and I will be adding, just for a laugh, I'm going to add Marcus Rashford. I'm not putting Rashi in. I'm not putting Rashi in. They are the options tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for us to debate out and for us to place and to kind of put where we want to put them in relation. And a lot of people saying, why this? Because it isn't Premier League only. This is Player of the Year across all the competitions they've played in. And I looked at it and thought to myself, we cover all competitions on the terrace, not just the Prem. So to not include any Chelsea players when they became European champions, I just thought was ridiculous. I couldn't do it. So you can see them included there. I'm allowing one wild card as well. So we're allowed one wild card. The player that gets the highest amount of super chats, we know how these ranking shows work. It's done on a book. So the player gets the most amount of will add a player in. You can have one player to the mix that hasn't been included with your super chats. You can put that in. But that's the people that we've put forward so far. And the only difference between that and the actual PFA Player of the Year is KDB, because he's not included. The rest of them were there. And we'll jump straight into it. The rankings, as you can see here, there's, I'm going to actually add that there. You've got overrated season, if you didn't think it was as good as people said it was. Good, very good, class season, the best. Only one person can be in the best because they're going to be named the Football Terrace Player of the Year. A few people are asking me, where is Salah? Was Salah included in the PFA's Player of the Year awards?
I think so.
Somehow, no.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Don't have a go at me. I only added Kante and Mount because I won the Champions League. Don't have a pop at Terry Fluid.
I think Mo Salah hasn't been in the running for the last 3 PFA Player of the Years.
Really?
Even though he's got 19 goals, 20 goals, and 21 goals, he's not been nominated for the past 3.
Wow, that's amazing. Really, I think he's amazing. But maybe I'll add him in. Maybe I'll pay to have him add him in as a wild card. We will see. But we're going to go to the rankings. You can place them where you want, and then we'll debate at the end. I'm going to go to Jem first of all. Jem, I'm giving you Harry Kane.
Oh, Harry Kane. I'm going to say the best. I just think he's just levels every season. 23 goals, 14 assists. That's massive, man. I know Spurs haven't done well in the league, if you look at them in the league and whatever else, but this guy consistently keeps putting in the numbers, and he would do that at any top 6 team. You know what I mean? He carries Spurs every season as well, and he's level. Like, he never drops. He just seems to always get better and better, especially in the Premier League, and I think he deserves to be there.
Interesting. Alan, what's your take on that as a Spurs fan?
I thought you were going to put him in class season, so I was a bit shocked you put him in the best. I agree with most of that. He's always performing. He's always carrying Spurs. So I would have put him class season or the best, because for me there is probably one person that deserves to be there above him or is on level with him. So yeah, I'd say he's there or thereabouts.
Interesting. So we're going to keep him there for now. Anyone disagree, profusely, that he shouldn't be up at the top?
I do, yes.
Go on, Slens.
Listen, where's the success? Show me the success. You've done all of this. What has it come down to? And don't tell me he wasn't able to take his team to a trophy because he played in the Carabao Cup final. And I came out and said he wasn't as bad as people said he was, but still it wasn't his usual self. So he shouldn't be the best. No, there's other players on that list that deserve it more.
So it's Kane's fault that he's got Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer at the back. That's why he shouldn't be rated fairly for this season.
Individually, his performance in that final.
In the cup final, yeah, it was poor. Wasn't he injured?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So it was the same as Same as the Champions League final. We should never have
No.
played out. I don't think you should have played the League Cup final. And you can't make excuses for players based on other, like our team at the back, shocking. So to put Harry Kane down because our defence has more holes
No,
in
but
it than
I want to clarify
you
something.
can't
I'm
do
not
that.
saying he shouldn't be there. I just think there's other players. Number one, for me, what stands out the most, there's other people who deserve to be there other than him.
Let me deep it for you, right? Last season, right, I'm looking at it now. He scored 18 goals and he only had 2 assists in the Premier League, yeah? This season, he scored 23 goals and he has 14 assists.
Yeah.
He hasn't
I want him at
ever had
Chelsea.
double-digit assists ever since he's been at Tottenham. 14. He said his best
Top
season
goal, top goal scorer.
You're telling me things I know already. I want him at Chelsea. He's incredible. I just think other players on that list deserve to be on the best.
Yeah, but you're basing it on trophies now, aren't you? So you're just going to say
you know what I like about that? I had a conversation on this morning's show about trophies. And a lot of people were saying that Sancho can't hold a candle to Mount now because Mount's won the Champions League and he hasn't. And I'm like, oh, you're walking into the trap because you've just all crowned Scholes the greatest midfielder in Premier League history. Thank you. And that's the one thing when you throw in the trophy argument instantly, it's okay. Well, do you understand where I'm coming from? It's that element. It's how much does individual brilliance is the best player. How much of that do we think is weighed on winning trophies at the same time? I mean, that's a genuine question.
I just think for me, as I said, like, listen, I think individually it's a great season, but the reason I'm putting someone else on the best is because individually, when it mattered the most, like for someone like Kante, four matches in a row. Are you considering everything? Yeah, you didn't just say Premier League, Terry, right? You're considering all competitions.
Everything,
everything. That's what I'm saying. When it mattered the most, Kante was the best player on the pitch with 22 players, which is why I put him as for me.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I agree with that, but Kante wasn't playing for the whole season, was he? He was out with injuries and stuff like that. So over the whole aspects. So you got if you're going to say that, you have to bring into account everything. So the person that was missing
I think when Kante was fit,
season,
it was great. When Kante was fit, his main issue was fitness this year for me, Kante. And when he was fit, he done his best. He done what he usually does.
Oh, he did. I'm not knocking that, but like what I'm saying is, it's Player of the Year, and Harry Kane's had to fulfil 2 roles this season for Spurs. Do 2 different roles. So for me, that's why he's got to be up there. To say he shouldn't be up there is, knocking him a bit.
I think listen, we're going to get to the outright debate later. I think what's also important as well is managers.
Yeah.
Would there be a single Chelsea player on this list if you'd have kept Lampard there for the whole season?
No chance.
Which is a key factor. I think is something to definitely factor in as well. Just thought everyone's entitled to their opinions on this. We're going to go to the next option. We're going to Latimer's Prime, and Latimer's Prime. I'm giving you Phil Foden.
Foden. I think he's had a very good season. I think this is like really his breakthrough year, or breakthrough season for City. He's been brilliant, but I think at times, maybe because he plays in this wonderful City team, but maybe at times his season has been overstated a little bit. That's why I can't put it in class or the best. But yeah, he has had a very good season, and I'm interested to see how he plays in the Euros and how he develops for the future. He's proved me wrong because he's been in the City squad for 2 or 3 years now, and England fans have always been saying he should go out on loan or just play because he's just phenomenal talent. And I've never really seen it, and he's proved me wrong. But still, very good season.
I hear that. Just changing the subject very, very quickly. Alistair Gold has just communicated with the world and said that Antonio Conte is close to joining Tottenham. We knew last night it was happening, but all the tier 1 Spurs journos, one by one, now it's coming, it's happening, it's there, it's done, and you can see those Chelsea fans looking a little more uncomfortable, just a little bit like jerky in relation to that. Thank you for placing Phil Foden there, mate. I appreciate that. Next up is going to be Alan. Alan, I'm going to give you Mason Mount.
Oh, so for me, I would put him in class season. He was the performer under Lampard when all was going not so well with Lampard. and he's continued it under Tuchel. He's come on massively. So for me, I'd put him in class season. He's like even in the big games in the Champions League final, like he's picking up the ball and the play into Havertz for the goal. I thought was world class, and I've seen that him progress all over the season. So for me, it would be a class season.
Slens, would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I think, you know what? I would have put him in very good, but I understand why class season. I think the end of the season is it's a recency bias thing where Mount obviously performed and had an assist in the final. So I would have put him in very good, but a class season, I can hear it. He's been consistent.
David just texted me saying overrated season.
Yeah, he was there, wasn't he? He probably did.
No,
He has to go.
I
He has to
believe
go in
that.
that class bit for me because for me he's doing it on the biggest stage of all, and in the Champions League to be able to pick the ball up the way he did, look up and play the ball he did. I mean, I think he's had a class season overall. I think at Lampard people would say, you know, he was the main man, but then when Tuchel come in, there was a lot of talks about how he won't get as many minutes, but he actually was improved under Tuchel. He become more influential under Tuchel. He was scoring more goals, more assists. So for me, last season.
You know what's interesting? Ilkay Gundogan had a really good kind of 10, 12 game spell where he scored a lot of goals. And that run, it was in the middle of that run that essentially gave City the base to be champions. But I think Mason Mount, across all comps, had a better season than Ilkay Gundogan. For me, he should have been nominated for the proper Player of the Year award. I thought it was sensational. And he shut me up as well because, you know what, a year or so ago, I really didn't think I thought both him and Tammy were not going to push on. So I was half right. Mason Mount just went on to the next level.
I have a question, sorry. Do you think he warrants being 2 tiers ahead of Foden? Because he is, right? Yeah.
One tier.
Oh, it was just one. Yeah. Do you think he warrants that? Do you think he's been on the same level, or do you think?
Do you know what? I think if Mason Mount had been playing in a team as good as Chelsea's with Tuchel all season, yes. And I think that has to be taken into consideration. The same reason as I wouldn't overtly play Kane down for the fact that he stood out in one of the worst Spurs teams you've seen in 5, 6, 7 years. I think it's really important to sort of focus on that. Plus, they both played against each other in a Champions League final, and one just outstripped the other. And I've said it already. If Tuchel was in charge of Chelsea all season, they would have won the league. They would have won the league as well. That's an opinion rather than anything else. But there we go. We're going to go to you next, Slens. Slens, I'm going to give you a real tough one. Ruben Diaz.
That is a tough one. Because for me, it was between Kante and Diaz for the best. I think I'll put him in class season. I think he's had, you know what? He's had some shaky moments. He hasn't been flawless, which I don't expect a player to be. But overall, he's been class. He's been class. Probably the best defender in the league.
What's your thoughts on that, Tom? Best defender in the... Do you think some City fan he's the best centre-back in the league now? I've heard a lot of people claim this year. You've got a certain Virgil that's on his way back. Is Diaz of that level?
This season he's been at that level, yeah. But I wouldn't say overall. I'd say this season he's been the best defender in the league by far, but that just means people are underplaying just how good Van Dijk is.
Yeah, no, Van Dijk's just ridiculous. But he
Still
does
the
it.
best, yeah. Still the best.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when he returns.
I've actually seen a dip in Diaz. If you want my honest opinion, I would have said I don't even know if I'd have put him in class season. I actually think I'd have put him in very good. I just think I think he's been very good, and I think he's a massive reason as to why they won the Premier League. But I look at the Champions League and the 3 times that we played him, and I just saw a player that had some real weaknesses in his game, especially when he's playing in a higher line and he's got players that have got a bit of pace against him. Like, I don't know, I just think there's frailties in his game, and I think next season will be telling for me and Diaz. Like,
can I just say something though, Jem? You know, we forget this is his first season. You know, like we talk about acclimatizing to the league, coming in. It's a difficult league. It's his first season, and he's doing this. So I go raise him up for that as well.
I hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so intrigued to see him next. I'm intrigued to see a lot of players next year when there's fans. How that changes things, the pressures that come with it, and everything else. There's no doubt. Tom, we're on to you next, mate, and I'm giving you Bruno Fernandes.
Do the right thing.
It's got to be a class season. Up until the end, he was one of the best in the league in terms of performances. He was really he drove that United team to second in the league. You know, he was playing. I think at one point he was. Did he come third in the Golden Boot race, or did he fall to fourth?
Third.
From a midfielder, that's crazy. I think he had like 30 goals in all comps or something. Like a season like that from a midfielder is ridiculous, especially with the United team behind him in terms of midfield and defence lacking a bit of consistency. I thought he really pushed that United team on. But I'd say class season is where he goes.
Look, as a United fan, I agree. I think there's almost too much pressure put on him, and I think it burnt him. But the same with the back end of last season, it burnt him out a little bit. You know, I know he only joined Man United in January, but of course he played the first half of the year at Sporting. There's so much emphasis pushed on him to be the main guy, and Ollie made a lot of mistakes in not resting and rotating him, in my opinion. Maybe he felt he couldn't. Yeah, you know, maybe for whatever reason, it's not worth debating as it is right now. But I think he just looked exhausted at the end of the campaign, and you know, hopefully next year we can stop that. But you've got to think he broke Lampard's record last year in terms of most goals for a midfielder in a single season, which is just a madness. And that's not even a stop. That's Lampard's. I never thought anyone would touch Lampard's record, and he did. And the thing is about Bruno is that none of you would bet against him doing it again next year. Do you know what I mean? Like he's phenomenal, and I would say class. I want to be shameless and say the best because based on Jem's logic, he should be the best.
No, he shouldn't.
Or no, because you said Harry Kane because of the goals and the assists, but you've got an attacking midfielder that's just behind him and all those things against a striker. Like, think about it logically.
He was in a final that you flopped, and I know it's not his fault, but when you want your big game players to turn up, he's one of them. Yeah, he's meant to be your biggest in my eyes.
Oh, mate, that's actually one. That's legitimately one of the.
I said the same about Kane, and you just agreed.
But where the difference is Kane was against City, and Bruno was against Villarreal. That's why, if I'm being real, if he would have balled out in that final, scored a brace, and would have won 3-0, I would have pushed for it and said he should be. But he like a lot of players on that night was awful, and I think that the performance in a couple of really pivotal games this year just wasn't there. And I can't put Mount above Foden on that same logic and then not do it to my own player because I'm just not a hypocrite. So for me, it's that's the only thing that Bruno now needs to improve on. He just now needs to, which is what's crazy, is I'll always shamelessly rate him highly because he's a Man United player. But what's crazy is the only thing he now needs to improve on is some better performances in some more of the pivotal games. He did well in some of them. You know, he did well in a couple of games against City in the last year or so, Liverpool games and whatnot. It's just now, I would say another 4 or 5 better performances in big games next season, and then he's pretty much there and complete and everything else. But yeah. I was just thinking about Man United. It's made me feel sad and disappointed. It's horrible. It's really bloody horrible. We've got 3 more to get through. I'm going to give the first one to Jem, and I'm going to give you Declan Rice.
Oh, why did you give me him? It's the last one I wanted. People know what I think of Declan Rice, and this. He's been very good. I don't rate him as highly as other people do. I think he's definitely one of West Ham's best player to help them get to where they have in the Europa Conference is a massive thing, especially from when you look at West Ham the season before, you know, in relegation and now making it up to there as well. He's probably one of the best progressive ball passers in the game at the moment, I would say. However, he's not Chelsea for me. I know Prime's smiling because he's waiting me to say it. He's not Chelsea minerals. That's the word. He just doesn't. He's not that. He's not a Chelsea boy. I'm telling you. Like, he's good at that where he is. So I'd say very good.
Anyone disagree with very good? Should it be higher for Declan Rice?
Massively. Class season. I spoke about this at the start of the season. Chelsea boys, Jem especially, you all laughed. And now everyone's saying just how good this guy is. I'd put him in class season personally.
People have been rating him for a while, to be fair. He's been good for 2 seasons. But a class season is a bit high for me.
Yeah,
He were very good.
When he got injured, West Ham dropped. He was out for about about a month or so, I think. And
when he was injured, West Ham won 3 and lost 3. But in the games they won, they only won them by a goal.
They were conceding
There was a lot
goals.
of goals conceded.
That was in there. People rave about Souček. Souček, I don't personally think he's that good. I think it's mainly Declan Rice in that midfield.
that's harsh.
I think it's a combination.
I think Souček is comparable to Fellaini. I think he's comparable to Fellaini. And people don't.
Fellaini was a good player.
I know, but people don't rate Fellaini.
Of course he was, yeah.
No, Fellaini was decent.
I know, but people don't rate Fellaini.
No, but they did at the time. When he was good, people rated him.
Okay.
There's a reason he ended up at United.
I think he's just like Fellaini.
He was great at Everton. He was really good at Everton. Yeah.
I know. I just personally think he's just like Fellaini. I think the main contribution in that midfield is Declan Rice. He's probably the best player in that West Ham team, and he's been one of the best players in the league this season.
We'll put that out for the viewers. We got Kesh that's joined us. He told me earlier he was going to be joining us and coming on having his say. And he's been traveling back. Kesh is here with us as well now. How you doing, bruv?
I'm not too bad. How you boys doing?
Good,
Yeah, man. All good. So Declan Rice has been put in there now. So I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go to Kesh because he just joined us. I'm going to give Kesh N'Golo Kante. I'm going to give you the top one. N'Golo Kante, where should he be placed in terms of player of the year across all comps this year?
I think you're going to have to put him at class season. I think he's been exceptional since Tuchel's come in. I don't think there's been a time where a player has been so pivotal leading up to a team's success in the last few games of the season. I think if you look at that semi-final, the quarter-final even, the final, mate, the guy was exceptional. He was a monster.
Yeah, he was just out of this world. Agree or disagree, Slens?
He's the best for me, man. He's the best. Listen, because you said all competitions, I'm putting all competitions. He's had very good games in the Premier League. I think of Liverpool away in other games. He's had very good games in the FA Cup, got us through to the semis. And in the Champions League, I don't think it's ever been done by a midfielder to win man of the match in 3 or 4 consecutive games in the knockouts. So I'm putting him in the best. And if he was nominated for the Ballon d'Or, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he's had some average performances under Lampard, if you want my honest opinion, and that's not his fault. It was more to do with maybe the way we were set up in many ways. But if you're going to take it into all considerations, I would say class, not the.
I think every single player's had average performances during the season. Or if you're going to
don't get me wrong,
nitpick,
in competitions, in competitions, he's been massive. I'm talking about Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. You know, who did we play for that? Porto. All these guys. You know, he was pinnacle. Even the Man City game, I've never seen a better performance from N'Golo Kante than that one. Yeah, in the final. And trust me, I agree. He does deserve Ballon d'Or. But where I think he may get the Ballon d'Or depends on what happens in the Euros with him. So just to see what happens.
For me,
go on, Adam.
For me, when you're at your worst under Lampard, it was at your worst under Lampard. It was a child, like a youngster in Mount, that pulled your team forward. Bigger names were missing, so for me, that's why I don't think Kante is best. I think he's class, but I would have put Diaz at best.
Okay,
that's what I would have done.
I think Kante was. I think
that's why you have Kante's class.
I think Kante was a victim of how poor Chelsea was, because under Lampard, they didn't really have any real structure like under Tuchel. Kante knows his job under Tuchel. That's why he's so good. Under Lampard, it was a bit more, we need you to do 3 jobs, and he could do them all. But from Tuchel onwards, he's been brilliant.
Final player.
But then that's why I say with Kane. Kane done 2 jobs, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kante does 400 jobs, mate, but that doesn't mean anything. So.
Final placement before we and the audience kind of narrow it down to number 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to give this to Alan. Ilkay Gundogan.
So I would, for me, he had that really purple patch where he was doing really well. Similar to Son. Son had a great first half of the season. Second half was awful. But Gundogan had that part where he was really good at purple patch. And then after that, so I wouldn't put him above very good. I'd go very good for him.
The reason why
I disagree. But
The
I'll
thing
let you
is, a lot of people going to look at and see his goals went down, his numbers was going down without seeing his actual overall play. Gundogan was playing a different role required to when De Bruyne was out. Did you see when De Bruyne came back? Gundogan started playing a lot more deeper. So I think you can't just judge him by his numbers. You have to look at the overall play and what his influence on the games.
Oh no, I was
agree.
going by eye test as well, so I know it's a dip in his performances as well, just by looking at him on the pitch.
There's one real big thing that people keep forgetting with Gundogan, right? Kevin De Bruyne went out and he was injured, and this was in a patch where Man City weren't performing very well. Yeah, they'd lost KDB. Sergio Aguero wasn't starting. He was, Pep was adamant that he wanted to keep playing false nines. And for me, Gundogan in a patch, I think it was a good 3-month patch, just stepped up. He stepped up massively. You're forgetting people like Sterling weren't even firing. They've not had a good season. These are key players, and Gundogan was key to them actually.
Jem, your point is spot on, bro.
Bringing them back to the level that they need to. That when Kevin De Bruyne came back in, they were up there. They were winning games. I think they won like 10 or 11 games in a row. They were going on a madness at one point, and that all stemmed from when Gundogan was playing. Not just Gundogan, but
I don't recall him doing it in the Champions League though.
I just think he elevated them. That's all I'm saying. I think he really did elevate them.
Was he the top scorer in the UCL? I think he was. He scored a couple of goals in the group stages as well.
He wasn't top goal scorer. Giroud was joint third.
No, for City.
Oh, for City, maybe. I think people are going to laugh. I think his season's been overrated, personally. But like, that little purple patch was great, but the whole season, I don't think he's been amazing.
Prime, you're underestimating the importance of that moment. The importance of that moment.
But no, he was doing well in November, December, January, and by the start of January, people were saying shouts for Player of the Year, that he should win Player of the Year.
He was playing really well.
I don't think over the course of the season, I don't think you can compare him to Kane or to Diaz, Bruno Fernandes.
No, but that's unfair of you, Prime, because people were saying the same thing about Kane in January when he was scoring a lot of goals. He should win Player of the Year. So that run of form was so important because you have to think about it. This year, City won. I know it's 38 games, but City won a title with that 12 run. Was it 14 run of games? They literally they went away from everyone else. No one could reach them.
I think
and he was pivotal.
Mahrez has been better than him this season.
No, he hasn't. You're missing it. You're missing a big point.
I don't think Mahrez. What's interesting,
I think that people are looking at a little purple patch, but we're talking.
Prime. I think you need to be mindful of something, and I get where you're coming from. Social media is. I've realized social media has done this. There's two things that we believe are true, which I don't think have ever really existed outside of a handful of performances or a handful of teams that have just been aliens. Where people are like, I want my team to dominate an entire match for the full 90 minutes and not have any low periods in the game. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Barcelona's peak teams did it because the way they held onto the ball. But most games that you will ever watch at any point in history of football, you might dominate for 50, 60 minutes of it, but there's always patches where the other team are on top and have good spells. The same thing generally happens in seasons. RVP's got a high goal scoring title winning season for Man United. I don't know the exact amount. I swear he went 2.5 months without scoring a goal. And I remember he scored against Sunderland, I think, and he ran the length of the pitch to celebrate with Fergie. Nearly knocked Fergie over. He jumped onto him. But he was still the best player in the league that year, and he had a period where he was down. I think it's quite normal for players to have. What I would say about Gundogan in the slightly downturn areas, he wasn't trash. He wasn't putting in dreadful performances, letting his team down, or being the reason or a big reason they were losing games. It wasn't like you don't think can get kind of like centre backs that can be brilliant one week and the next week they look like Titus Bramble. He wasn't doing that for me. So I think any lower overrated, I completely disagree with. I would move him more towards class season. I actually think he's more this season City than Diaz in the end. But
I get that. I'm not saying he's been terrible, but he has been good. But people are looking at that purple patch to elevate everything he's done, which I disagree with personally.
Well, I think something else you got to give context to is the latter end of the season. He was starting every game. He didn't start 2, and he came off early on 1. All 3 of them games they lost.
He's important.
And can I ask you a question, Prime? Where would you place Kante if you were doing this list by yourself?
Can I see the list? I think if you don't include the Champions League, I'd put Kante in very good. But looking at especially the latter stages of the Champions League for Chelsea, I'd put him in class season.
Okay, yeah. So you're using a handful of games in the Champions League back to back to elevate the season. So for a lot of people, like that's what they're doing with Gundogan. He's had a very good season, but then he's had this 2-3 month period where it was amazing. It's bumping him up another level. I don't see the difference in those things.
Your point is spot on, because has he had a lower than 7 out of 10 in any game this season? I don't think he has. Yeah, he hasn't. That's consistency.
And when he's been good, he's been very good. And this is the point. This is what I keep saying to Prime. It's that moment where they were rock bottom. They weren't in any good form. They were drawing games. They were losing games. They lost KDB. He was out for months. And this guy stepped up. He stepped up in a point where they were struggling, and that's what, in my eyes, is what excelled him on to going to winning the league. It stemmed from him, in my eyes. So I think class. I'm going to say class. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, this is where we are, it is right now. We have got some super chats in that we will go to. One from Kieran as a Chelsea fan. We'll open that up. We've got to pick number 1, 2, and 3, and we can only pick them out of the people that are in best and class. So, is that harsh ruling out Gundogan? For 1, 2, and 3, maybe. So you're going to get a vote. You're going to get a vote each for who we think the best needs to be. It's going to be there's 5 people to choose from here. So first of all, we're going to go to who are we going to pick first of all? We'll go. I'm going to go to each of you, and you're all going to pick your number 1, number 2, number 3. And they can be picked from anyone in class season or best. So I'm going to go to Slens first of all. Who are your number 1, 2, and 3?
It's Kante, Diaz, and Kane.
Okay. Tom?
Kane, Diaz, Kante.
Kesh?
Harry Kane, Diaz, Gundogan.
Jem?
Kane, Kante, Gundogan.
Okay. Prime?
Kane, Diaz, Mount.
Okay. And then who hasn't gone yet? Alan, who are you going with?
Kane, Diaz, Fernandez.
Diaz, Fernandez. I'm going with Fernandez, Kane, Kante. So there we have it. It's done. If we're going to, based on the votes that we've put in, it's really, really simple to move it down. Number 1, Harry Kane. Number 2 was Ruben Diaz with 5. And then number 3, Kante, in that order. I mean, that's how it was announced today by the Premier League. I don't think anyone would have too much of an issue, really. Like, they don't count all competitions like we are, but I think that's fair, and everyone got a vote towards the end. We do have some super chats, though, straight away. There's some super chats straight away. Kieran wants Kante put in best and says, love the show. So straight away, Kante's up. To move him out, it's going to cost. It's going to cost you 5 of your hard-earned pounds. There was another super chat that's clearly already gone that I can't get up on the screen because it already went through. But it was from Lamar, who says, "This is my 200th and last time Mount over Foden." Now that brings up a good point. So viewers, you can all super chat now. You can change that around. You know how it works. We'll open a book up. You want to take Kante out of that position, you know what it's going to cost. Or whatever it may be. But we had this debate on this morning's show. We put out a number of polls today. I haven't actually checked up on how they're doing. But we were having who's the best playmaker in the England squad? And we named Saka. We kind of put him in there because Arsenal fans twisted my arm. But Saka's in there. Grealish, Foden, Mount, Sancho. Who's the best creative player we've got?
Easy.
Sancho.
Yeah,
It's
I'm going to say
Grealish.
Sancho.
It's Grealish.
Sancho.
Grealish.
Yeah. Isn't he like on par with KDB? Last season, was he? Chances created.
Sancho's able to create everything from a wider position where the ball gets out to a bit less often. He's able to
Thing
create.
is-
He's able to
Same
isolate
with
fullbacks
Grealish.
all the time.
The thing is
Grealish operates as more of a false winger, doesn't he? He comes inside with more for Aston Villa,
I
and he is their chief player.
I agree with everyone saying Sancho based on what he does at Dortmund, but every time I've seen Sancho play for England, he's not really impressed me.
18
It's close.
assists
I would go
for Sancho
Grealish.
this season, by the way. Just saying.
I
18
agree with you,
assists.
Kesh, about Sancho for England. I agree with you.
But I get what Kesh is saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think Sancho's amazing. And I think, I don't know. Sancho's phenomenal. What he's done numbers wise is out of this world.
Of course it is.
So I'm siding with him. But when it comes to Jack Grealish does something to me when I watch him play football. And it isn't just how handsome that young man is, right? I see a picture of him in front of a magazine today, and I was looking at it going, my God, son. First of all, the jacket he was wearing was drippy, but I was like, how? Do you know what I mean? Look at, I'm in man bod. I'm in like dad bod stage of my life now, and I'm looking at him thinking, son of a bitch. Anyway, I digress. I watched him play last night in the build up to that goal, and the sort of dummy and turn he does. It's just that subtlety in his play is next level. And one thing I love about Grealish, he looks like he has an hour. He has all the time in the world, an hour to play a pass that he's actually only got 2 or 3 seconds on. He's phenomenal, and I would.
Yeah.
Can I make a point, Terry?
Shocked he didn't move this summer. Go on, mate.
Sorry. Grealish is assisting Watkins, whereas Sancho is assisting who? One of the best strikers in the world.
Yeah.
So if you're going to look at assists, that's all I'm going to say, man.
Yeah, but Grealish was assisting at the same rate in his first season. Sancho was assisting at the same rate before Haaland arrived as well, to be fair. But do you know what it does say to me, though? We are blessed in that area.
Oh,
know?
yeah.
That's real.
Oh, yeah. Massively.
I can't remember.
Just sort of centre backs out.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I mean, I can't remember, though, having this level of creativity in an England squad ever.
I think they're more ball runners than creativity. This is where I disagree with you, because you look at Grealish and you look at Sancho and you look at Rashford and you look at Foden. All these boys like the ball at their feet, getting the ball at their feet and driving with the ball, playing 1-2s in open spaces. We actually got a player that can get the ball, look up, and if someone's making a run, pick them out.
Yeah, but Jem, is
If you look
hardly
at the front,
that sort-
like the front three that we've got.
that sort of number 10 is so hard to find these days. Like you're talking about the Ozils and the De Bruyne's, the Mata. You don't find number 10s like that anymore, though.
Trent's another guy that will look up, get the ball from the halfway line, and knock a ball over the top, or pay a killer ball. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about. These guys want the ball and they want to run at you. They want to run at you, and then they want to do a 1-2 with someone and receive it back, and that an open space in that way. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to pick out a run. If Harry Kane's making a run, they're going to pick him out.
I think Grealish can do it.
I think could.
I think you can.
But I think the problem is we're just not seeing him in. That's one of the reasons I'm so looking forward to seeing him. Is for him. He's never played with this quality of player before. Like,
That's true.
and we haven't really seen what he's like, and I think he could do it. I think Jude Bellingham might be able to do it from a deeper role as well. You know, Jude Bellingham is so talented. He's 17 as well. It's a
His
madness.
passing range is mad.
I hear a lot of people saying that about Bellingham, saying we shouldn't take him, we shouldn't risk, tarnishing his career and taking him, saying it happens to him, or if he has bad performances in the England squad. And I was like, why? Ain't it better for him to come? He's not going to start. He can be rotated, even if he gets 20 minutes per game. That's experience.
No, but I think he should be developing at Dortmund, though. Dortmund's a great development team.
Does he not play for Dortmund? Does he not start? When
He does play. That's what I'm saying. That you should stay at Dortmund, develop for a year or two,
He does,
and he'll be ready for that big move. That's why I think.
Do you not think he should be with England?
No.
I don't
No.
If he's already playing, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm listening to from people.
I reckon he should.
You know what it is?
Listen, at international tournaments, it's about building your squad for about 2 years. You can't just chuck a player in for some random reason because he's had a breakout season. This is something that England always does. They because of a break. He did the same thing with Rashford.
Wait, well, hold on.
Theo Walcott. You just chuck players in.
Disagree.
Wait,
I don't know.
but,
Go on.
but it has been done previously with people like Owen and Rooney. It has been done previously with players like that. The time when you don't do it is when you say to someone like when they did with Theo Walcott, just to sit on the bench and do nothing.
And
Prime.
That's when you don't do it.
Prime,
You don't
Prime,
do it.
Prime. Can I ask you a question, Prime? Are you telling me that no other nation has given, no other fancied nation has given a breakthrough player a chance this year or any other tournament?
They probably have, but they know how to handle it better.
That don't make no sense, Prime.
I
All
think
I'm
all-
saying is you take Bellingham,
Why?
you give him 15, 20 minutes a game. He doesn't start every game, but he gets minutes, and he's playing with top class players, bro.
Can I just point out, by the way,
Rio Ferdinand went to Euro 96 but didn't play a single minute. The idea is, and this is what all nations do, good, bad, or indifferent, is you start to bleed in some of these youngsters at that early stage so they understand what it's like to be away for a month. It's a very unique environment to be away from that amount of time. You're bleeding them into the squad. You're getting them used to it. You're seeing how they behave. There are reasons for doing it that are not just all about the here and the now. Some of it is about development and the future. Because I haven't gone through everybody's squad with a fine tooth comb, but I'm pretty sure you will find that most nations are bringing through someone that's had a standout year. Maybe they're not 17, 18, but has had a standout year and they've got themselves into the squad. Surely must happen.
Can I just point out,
Spain
by
are
the way,
giving Robert Sanchez from Brighton is the tournament. He's never his level before that was Rochdale.
Probably, but they even talked about to start.
but do you know what, Prime, though, if you think about it, you know the position he plays in, we actually lack options there with Henderson being injured. I'm not saying Bellingham should start, but I'm saying we actually need options there, and he's so talented that taking him there, I think he might actually. You know, if we, for example, the third group game we've gone through already, I'd see him start. To be fair,
That's my point.
because Henderson is not fully fit.
You lack options. You've got Rice. You've got Calvin Phillips and James Ward-Prowse.
James Ward-Prowse is not going.
I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem wrong with it. The only thing I'm fearful of is with Ederson might possibly not be match sharp and everything. I wouldn't want the onus to be on Bellingham coming.
No, I agree,
and having to start games. That's the only problem I have there with it.
Well, do you know what I think?
get that.
For me, it's more about mindset, right? So I look, Prime. I do respect your opinion on football, of course. Your frustration with what England do also strikes me strange, considering you don't support England. I never.
I've been watching you guys like.
I don't get it. I you know what it is. I can have an opinion on what France do, but I don't feel frustration or joy in either direction. Do you know why? Because I don't support them. I always find it very like the way you have a pop. It's either like you really hate England's football team, or secretly you don't want to admit it because you're Irish, but you're like, that's actually who I support at tournaments. And
I've been watching you guys regularly for years. Like,
but you shouldn't have frustration.
It's just frustrating.
Yeah, but why is it frustrating? You should be loving it. You're Irish.
Because I want my Chelsea boys who are English to win. That's why.
See, that's weird again. See, for me, if you're a Liverpool player and you play for England, I love you for a month of the year. I want every single United player at another nation. Why England are in it, I want them all to flop and to fail. Because I no longer support Man United for the next 6 weeks. I'm now an England fan. That's how it should be, in my opinion. But everyone's a bit weird like that. A lot of people are. But yeah, your agenda against England strikes me as strange. The way you sound like someone who's been jaded by England, which is strange for an Irishman. But it's fine. It's acceptable. But listen, for me,
he don't like Guinness. He had a Guinness the other day, and he's like, "Oh, this is crap. What is this?"
You don't like Guinness?
Yeah, he was Guinness, right?
You're telling me, man. What is this?
He orders a Guinness, right? And he's sitting there and he drinks 3/4 of it, and then he goes,
I drank everything.
He just drank 3/4 of it, and then he gulps it.
Do you know what's mad about it is Guinness is the only alcohol that you can only drink in a pub. Everything else you can kind of make at home to a degree, but yeah, Guinness is the only one that's only good in a pub. But on the Jude Bellingham thing, it's about expectation. It's this element of I've got no expectation at this tournament for our young players to be our match winners and to be the superstars. If Jude comes in to play a game, I want him to do well. I'll be gassed if he does, but I think that's what we do wrong sometimes. And my generation got ruined because of Michael Owen. Michael Owen went to the World Cup and killed it. And then every other time a youngster was involved, we just naturally assumed that he was going to be the new Michael Owen and deliver like Michael Owen. Or no, we actually really spoiled Michael Owen in 1998 and then Rooney in 2004. But there are far more youngsters coming and not really being involved. Because Rashford, in fairness, has barely played at the 2 international tournaments he's been at. Like, he hasn't really
Well,
featured.
the first tour, was it the Iceland when he got knocked out? When Rashford came, even though he didn't start, the whole thing was, oh, bring Rashford off the bench, bring Rashford off the bench. And I think he came off the bench against Iceland for, was it 10 or 15 minutes? And he was your best player on the field, but that wasn't saying much. And the whole thing was, Rashford is so special, and he's going to be England's future.
It didn't hurt his career, though.
It's the same narrative about England that's always happening.
It
Yeah.
It didn't hurt his career, though. He still developed
I know it didn't
correctly.
hurt his career, but I mean,
Prime. You've got to see what you're doing is you're getting suckered in by the hype, but why is the hype there? To get everyone hyped. People always say, why do the English media whip up a frenzy around England?
You live in
I
England.
wonder. How weird would it be if the English press were hyping up how good South Korea were? Why would they do it? Stop. Every time there's a new young player, they're going to be hyped. And every single nation does the exact same thing. But some people only have an issue with the English doing it. That's what I find so weird. It's like, we're the only ones who hype our own people up. Come on, man.
I think it's because you've got examples like Theo Walcott, who was like, again, he went at a young age, and there was all these big expectations that he was going to be this great, striker at the time and stuff like that. And
Wenger ruined him.
It's also the mentality. It's also the mentality. It's not just us as fans supporting the nation. It's the mentality of the players as well. And some people will be able to take that mantle on their shoulder and go there, be grounded, and take it on board. But some will just bottle under the pressure. And we saw that with Walcott.
Yeah.
And you know what? Walcott's not a great example because if you think about it, Jude Bellingham's played like 40 games in all competitions this season. So it's not like we're signing someone who's seen no games. He's seen he's played football a lot in Bundesliga, and we're bringing him in.
Exactly.
Like, I don't see the issue. So
I can't remember whose biography it was, but they were on about how Theo Walcott
And he's also
was
played Champions League,
squad.
hasn't he?
yeah, of course, he scored in a quarter-final for God's sake. So
I think they were saying Theo Walcott was someone who struggled with homesickness. That was what killed him off. He really, at that 2006, he was 16 at the time. He just couldn't hack being away from his family for that long. He was so close with. I think it's different with Jude Bellingham because he's in Germany.
Yeah.
That's not going to affect him as much.
Well, Nick said it there. Walcott was talked up to be the new Henri. Obviously, he was at Arsenal at the time as well. And it was like, we've got our own Henri. Yeah,
and it does go wrong. I mean, I got it wrong, by the way. It wasn't Euro 96 I went to at 19. It was the World Cup in 1998 they took him to. But, you can, I'm just looking at, I'm sure if you go through it, you could pretty much find that with most squads that they will bring, or most big squads, if you were to go through it, there'll be like a really good uncapped or very young player that they take to these tournaments. It happens fairly regularly. I don't think it's just England, but it's going to be an interesting one. It's definitely going to be an interesting one this year. There's a super chat here that says, question for the panel, one choice, Sancho, Grealish and Keane together, or Zidane, Bielsa and or the Bayern Dortmund back staff.
I'm bare lost.
I think he said so. You can either pick Sancho and Grealish and Moise Keane as your front three, or you don't get them as a front three, and you have Zidane, Bielsa, and the Dortmund backroom staff. That is the weirdest choice I've ever been given. I'd probably
what? I don't get
Brilliant. I think he's mistyped. Jason, you've mistyped, bro.
Yeah,
Surely.
maybe you have. Maybe you have, Jace. Try come back to us on that one, bro. We've had another super chat come through that says Harry Kane is half Irish, Terry. Thank you. Listen, as I say, I can't pick anybody's nationality for them. That's a personal choice. I judge people on who they support in sport, who they play for. So O'Farah is British, Saka is English, AJ is English or British because that's the way it works for me. Harry Kane plays for England, he's English. That's it. That's it. That's a nice, easy way. Keep it relaxed is all I'm going to say on that bombshell. My son's half Irish, but he ain't got no choice. I own a little rule with my son. I said to him, you support Ireland in rugby and England in football. That was always the kind of the little balance between them. Jack Grealish played for Ireland till he was 21.
Declan Rice as well.
Rice as well. Yeah, I know. It's an interest. I always find like the sort of the English-born players who play for other countries, they tend to only ever pick other countries if they're not good enough for England, or they think they're not going to be good enough, or it ain't going to work for them.
I'm
and they
surprised Bamford hasn't switched over yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
true,
That's
true.
We take Grealish and Rice, they get Bamford in return. I wonder who's got the better deal out of that.
Say that again.
We take Grealish and Rice off them, and we give them Bamford in return.
Yeah,
Who's got the better end there?
It's a good swap deal, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Brian will have that all day. Trust me, he would
Of
have
course
that all
he would.
day.
Yeah, because I support Ireland for internationals. Yeah.
do us a favor, ladies and gentlemen. 5 minutes to go. If you want to change anything on this now, 5 minutes to go with the stream until it ends. If you want to get anything changed with the super chat, get them in now. But yeah, I'm so excited about this international tournament though. Legitimately, do you know what it is? It's nice to do the Player of the Year tonight. That's out of the way. It's nice now just to focus, bit of transfers, and then the Euros. And I don't know, I've got a sneaky feeling, you know, I've got a sneaky little feeling.
Terry, you know what?
Don't do it yourself.
One thing I've been thinking about.
No, we're
So-
not going to do it.
No. Do you know? You talk about how creative we are. Yeah, we have like Grealish, Foden, Mount, all of these players, and you look at our defense. You look at the names we've brought up, and the manager, the style of play he plays, it's so frustrating. It's just so frustrating because we've got this crop of players that need to be nurtured into like a kind of like an offensive system, but we've got the defenders we have and the manager we have. It's so
that
frustrating.
England team, right? And this is why I never get gas of England. I don't even bother watching them that much, and that's the honest truth. Yeah, it's so unbalanced. It's unbelievable in terms of quality.
That's the thing. Yeah,
That's the
but it's coming home. It's coming home. Now, do you know what? Like, on a real level, I said do bits. I think we'll do well at the tournament. I don't necessarily think we're going to win it. I was messing around in the kind of build up the other day, talking about how I get this feeling that we could win it just because it would wind people up that despise Gareth Southgate. Like the other day, I don't know what Chelsea fan it was. A Chelsea fan moaning that he plays free at the back. He said playing free at the back is like a negative waste man system, and I'm like, oh, see. It's not. It's your mindset of who's doing it. You know, look all year. All right, Man United fans all year furious that Man United have a double pivot. Same Man United fans like, oh my god, the double pivot at Chelsea is so amazing. It's like nice.
Double six.
Like the twin sixes. It's not the same thing. England don't play with a double pivot. We play with twin sixes. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. You can just find a posh name for it. But and I'm intrigued. Kesh, we didn't speak the other day about it. Like, who do you think is going to win, bruv?
I think it's going to be France again, man. You don't call up Karim for no reason, bro. You don't call him up for no reason. The way that man looked, I know he missed the penalty with him, but he was rolling back the years, man, the way he was moving. Scary, I'm telling you.
He does. He looks good.
He's got the link-up player, Drew, yet he's a better goal scorer. So it's mad. It's scary.
I'm back in Turkey, and I've got two teams actually. Turkey.
Outsiders.
I actually got a weird feeling that Germany.
Turkey will be a dark horse.
Germany are going to be naughty as well.
Who's your best player, Jem?
Probably at the moment in form, Burak Yilmaz, but Yazici is very good as well. So watch out for Yazici.
You got the Milan number 10 as well.
João Hanolu's there as well. He's a good player.
Kabak and Solanke was
They've got Demiral at the back.
Kabak.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that? You got such a strong defense.
They do as well. They do.
Yeah.
Dark horses,
squad.
Are you in the Italy group? Yeah, Italy group.
Yeah, they got Italy first game of the Euros actually next Friday. First game.
Italy's been recruiting though. They've been cheating, man.
Yeah,
that's what France do. That's what France do.
They've been recruiting so much Brazilians. There's like 3 or 4 in the team now.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I don't quite know whether are those people like born in Italy though, or
Nah, Rafael Tully, the centre back, he was born in Brazil. I'm sure Jorginho was born in Brazil as well.
Emerson Palmieri was.
They're trying to call up Martinelli. They've been trying for ages as well.
Oh wow,
he's old and out.
One thing I thought about England for a while though is, you know, like a lot of our academies now bring over players at like 13, 14 from different parts of the world. Like, we should be trying to pattern them from a young age to play for England. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks.
Because like
Germany done it, didn't they? With that Basila guy.
Yeah.
We should be doing it with Haaland. He was born in Leeds. He's
Exactly.
Good attacker.
yeah. Listen, I'm excited about it. The thing with it is, everybody makes their predictions based on what should happen, but who would have guessed that Germany would have been so bad at the last one, as an example? Like you just don't ever know. And sometimes it's that first game, isn't it? That first game you get one, and that includes England dropping out early. You can have that one bad start. Like everyone's just saying France, absolutely they're going to win, and they are favourites for a reason. They're world champions. But it wouldn't shock me if they went out in the group stages, or it would shock me if they lose. Like if you look at the French, the side of things, like they're in the group of death.
Germany, France, and
Portugal.
Yeah.
That's who we're playing.
One of them are going.
That's who we're playing.
I mean, and they'll probably get through on the third place, being one of the best teams. But like, who knows how good or bad someone's? You lose that first game when the pressure builds up. You lose a player to injury or something.
That's what scares me.
And that's what's so great about these tournaments. And I actually love the group stages to a degree, the knockouts, because it's lots of football very quickly over a short period of time. It's like everyday football, and it's just it's like a festival. I love it.
Haven't the last two, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but the last two World Cup winners, haven't they been knocked out in the group? And the next,
I think that's in the World Cup. I think it's if you win the World Cup, you go out with the group in the next World Cup, because Germany won 2016, went to the semis.
Do you not think it would be more interesting if they just scrapped the group stages and just done home and away knockouts, like between each other? Like,
no, I like the group stages.
I
like the group stages.
I think what's nice about the group
stages,
there's pressure on every game, but at least you've got three. Like you've got 3 games coming, as opposed to. Imagine that whole build-up, and you have a bad performance, and that's it, done.
And for the smaller nations as well, they get in a group with a big nation. It's a massive thing for them. Look at Panama in the World Cup.
Can you imagine if because are we in the same? Imagine who's in North Macedonia's group? Imagine they score a goal, like they'd be buzzing. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting this year.
Hungary in the group of death. Imagine if they scored a goal.
Well, imagine people get Hungary are used to be a serious balling nation. Like Puskas is from. People forget who he is, but who knows? Football's such a mad game. Like we know who the favourites are. But I can't look at right off. I think Scotland might do well in this tournament. And when I say well, I don't mean semi-finals or win it. I think they could, have a few, results where you just say, well done. They've been a couple of games this whole tournament. They haven't been to a tournament since 1998. Prime weren't born.
I think Croatia's going to be the worst team out of the big ones.
They got a good midfield, though. Very good midfield.
Always a not called Croatia, usually in history, when you think about it.
I'll tell you what, though. England have to win in the group stages, because we can't finish second and face France. We can't. It'll be trouble for us.
They're not winning it anyway. Forget it. I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
What scares me with England, though, is that whole thing of losing the first game.
Jim? You mean we?
I think
we've got to aim for semi-finals at least, though. Have to.
Yeah. Aiming for the semi-finals, really?
Have to. No,
that's ambitious. It's ambitious.
It can be done.
Provided we win the first game.
I think it's a bit optimistic, to be fair.
What scares me with Southgate is if we lose the first game, we're going to be seeing 5-3-2 for the rest of the tournament. It's the safe option. Yeah. He'll go back to his Maguire, Stones, Walker, and we'll be done.
It's not 5-3-2. Yeah. It's 4-3-4, bruv. Or 3-4-3.
3-4-3, yeah.
It's all about perception, man.
Do you honestly think, though, that Southgate can actually bring it home? Let's be serious. Do you think he's got what it takes? He's got the squad. We know he's got the squad. And in previous...
Does he have the squad?
England have always had... You look at the golden era as well, decent squads. But do you think Southgate can actually get these guys to mould?
Jem, I don't want to sound depressing, but we won a big game against a big team since 1966. No. Think about it. No. We actually haven't.
That's what I'm saying.
In a big tournament.
England don't have the squad.
They have the squad. Well,
they don't.
No, that's
Did Portugal have the squad in 2016?
If you look at the World Cup last time, we were lucky to get to the final in the last
international tournaments. You don't need a squad.
By who?
Portugal in 2016 won it off the back of a good Ronaldo knockout stage. Greece in 2004 won it by scraping 1-0 wins in golden goal. That was their entire tournament plan. You'll have the international tournaments are a thing where the best team wins. If you can get good performances out of a group of players, you've got a great chance.
And the last tournament you guys got to the semi-finals, and England fans ridiculed it because you were getting there based off penalties and corners.
England fans didn't. People that dislike England as a football team, people that dislike Southgate, people that hate on Harry Kane because he didn't score the goals in the way in which everybody ideally would like to, hated on it. Every true England supporter was absolutely over the moon to be in a World Cup semi-final. I finished after every single game, after winning our first penalty shootout since 1996, getting to a semi-final for the first time in my proper living memory. I was 5 years old the last time we did it in 1999. Do you think I cared about the route? Do you think it was like, I can't celebrate being in the semis because we didn't knock out any of the big teams? Fuck that, bruv. Did you Prime? You're trying to throw a show, but I'll come back. Does your Champions League mean less to you because you didn't play Bayern Munich or PSG in the knockout stages?
No, because I know we would have beaten them.
That's a good answer, but don't know that. That's a belief. My point is, you don't suddenly turn around and say, it's a good answer, very good answer, but you don't turn around and say, this tournament doesn't mean so much to him. What if next year you win the league, but City have an awful season and lose 10 games? Are you going to say it doesn't really count because City weren't brilliant this year? You don't, do you? But whenever England do well, it's like we're going to try and find a way to play it down. If we get to a semi-final or final and win it, we deserve it. If we go out early, we deserve it. That's just the way it is for me. And do we have as good a squad as France? Absolutely not. When I start going through all the other squads, is it comparable? No. I think pound for pound. Yeah. I think pound for pound, most other squads, you can. There's an argument. Germany, very good squad, generally speaking. France, superior in a bigger way. But when I look at every other team that's in it, are they miles better than us squad-wise?
I think Portugal's is. I think Portugal's is very good.
I don't even think Portugal is. I don't think
they got some top players.
What's superior to us?
Portugal only have an attack. Portugal only really have an attack. That's it.
They got Ruben Diaz at the back.
Ruben Diaz at the back.
Come on, bro. But the rest of it is
barring the defense,
Cancelo and Ruben Diaz at the back.
Barring the defense, I think England. I know a lot of people say this in balance, but going forward, we've got the players that can hurt teams. Like I look back to when Holland got to the final versus Spain. Like their defense was absolutely shocking, but they had a good forward in Van Persie. They had some experienced players in the likes of De Jong and guys like that in midfield. I think England can go to the semi-final. I really think they can.
Yeah, and do you know what it is? A few people in the comments saying, but you didn't win it in the end, Terry. And I get that. And any England fan that says, even if we won it, I wouldn't say we're the best team in Europe. That's it, because we're not better than France. Like, if we played France 10 times, I think they'd beat us more times than we'd beat them. Yeah. That isn't what tournament football is about. It's not about, we're the best ever. Just let fans enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? If I don't know, I'm not saying they will. Who else is in this? Who's not fancied to go on and win this? Because if Turkey got to a semi-final, everybody would be like, well done you. England get to a semi-final and it's hatred. It's mad. It's mad. And a few people saying you sound a bit gammony. Well, if you think I'm sounding gammony, then you're the one with the problem. I'm talking about football here. I'm talking about pure football here. Everything, it's just mad. Like, people just always want to play it down.
Are you talking about English media and English fans that are playing England down? Or are you just talking in general in terms of world football?
I'm talking about right here in the football terrace community.
Right.
Right here. It's just weird. It's just weird. Like, I don't think we're going to
rate Southgate.
Sorry, mate.
I rate Southgate.
Really?
As an England fan, I don't see Southgate being able to tactically take us to a final. Yeah. But he can get a starting 11 out that is good enough. He can start a tactic that is good enough. But if it comes down to it with 20 minutes to go, we need a tactical change. I don't see him making that. That's the difference between England and other top countries.
And the Croatia game made
that.
The Croatia game in the semi-final made it stand out. Harry Kane was exhausted and should have come off.
Yeah.
Jordan Henderson had one of the worst individual performances I've ever seen in an England shirt, and he didn't make those changes soon enough. And I agree. I don't think there are better managers out there for us. There are some better squads out there than ours. But doesn't mean we can't have a good tournament. And good for me, honestly, if we make a semi-final, I'm happy because I don't have the real expectation of us winning. I said the other day, I had this little thought with how much hatred, Southgate gets, I could just see him doing it, just because it would wind people up like a banter level. But on real terms, if you're being really serious, we know who the favourites are, and then you've got teams that are not fancied this year, like the Germanys. If Germany get out of the group stages, never write them off ever because they're the Germans.
Never
Can't do it. Italy, we don't know what Italy. Holland, we haven't mentioned Holland. Holland are there. I assume they're there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, they're awful, man.
But their manager,
Frank de Boer. Frank de Boer's the manager.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there's lots of teams there again that on paper and historically you think
Belgium are good as well.
Well, again, but Belgium are, I've spoken to Belgian people recently. Belgium people?
Belgium, yeah.
Belgian people, yeah. They basically said, what's the kind of plural term for someone who's Belgian?
Belgians.
Belgians. I suppose a few Belgians, not Belgian people. Belgian, that's the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's more than one, though, it's Belgians, right?
Yeah, Belgians, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. I'll just make sure I'm not going mental here.
Yeah.
Right? And they're sort of like, they're really, like, for the last 2 or 3 tournaments have been optimistic. They're not optimistic about this one. They're like, our golden era's past us. We're not as good a squad anymore. But my view was, maybe this is a time where you turn up then. Maybe when the expectation drops slightly, players relax more. I don't know. It's just, for me, I don't like it when we talk about football and everything's just a big foregone conclusion before a ball's kicked. Because if that was the case, why fucking watch it? Like, listen, the drama happens for a reason.
Terry, listen, what gives me hope is we look at Portugal. I think Tom's mentioned it. They didn't win the game inside 90 minutes until the semi-final. They finished third in their group. And they won the whole tournament. So, listen, it shows you.
Greece 2004 is the perfect example. I think every knockout game they won on golden goal, 1-0. All they did was play to golden goal, save energy, and then win it in golden goal. That was all they did. That's all you need for an international tournament. It's not consistent great performances like in the Champions League. It's a month-long competition playing against teams that haven't had years to gel. They've got at most a month, so there's going to be things you can exploit. That's the beauty in it. That's what makes it so good.
Can I ask you something? Yeah? Because I speak to a lot of people now. I talk about England, and I say, "Are you not totally against this idea of having a manager managing England that's not from England, from a different nation?" And a lot of people say, "Nah, we shouldn't go back down that route. We had Eriksen, we had Capello. That was awful. Didn't do enough." Do you not all share that opinion?
I'm for it. If it gives us a better chance for the tournament.
Yeah. If Jose Mourinho walked through that door,
asking for Wenger. I was sat there asking for Wenger when I saw the attack the squad has, because he plays good attacking football.
Progressive football.
The thing is, Kesh, look at someone like Jose Mourinho, right? He's a serial winner, but he's very good in competitions. So you imagine if England got someone like Jose Mourinho. All right, it might not be the sexiest football. We know he probably wouldn't get us playing sexy, but he'd have a system and the players would play to it and they'd understand their roles. Something Southgate can't do as well as it.
How do I answer this in the right way? I want someone I don't care about their passport or their nationality, but I would want them to understand and have been involved in the game. So the culture of the English game, which I think is key. Because I think there's an element of we all know this because just looking at the panel, we've all got parents, grandparents, and family members from maybe wives and boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, from different parts of the world. People are different from different parts of the world, and it's about understanding that. So Arsene Wenger's, I don't know about Jose anymore because of what's gone on, but Arsene Wenger's, Jose's managers that have come to the Prem and managed here and delivered here, worked here. Absolutely, of course. Someone that's never set foot in the English game, suddenly taken over. I don't know if that it didn't work. Fabio Capello,
I think that's where Capello kind of suffered. Yeah, Capello, someone like Capello, he was one of the greats of all time, but I think he kind of suffered because he wasn't so submerged into our culture and into our football. And I don't know if he got an English job before it or was into Premier League.
I think he came straight. Came straight in as far as I'm aware, and I think that's where I think the nuance needs to be. But, someone like Arsene Wenger, of course, I know he's French. He spent he's an honorary Brit. Do you know what I mean? He spent a lot of his time here. He understands it, lives here, and everything else. Jose has never sold his London house, like as an example. And there are probably other managers I'm not even thinking about that could fall into that category. Carlo Ancelotti's been here. I mean, just lived here. They understand the football. They understand how the fans want things. They understand the players. Things like that, and have that respect. Of course, for me, I want my country to win. I everything. I can watch curling at the Winter Olympics, and I'm screaming for that weird thing to stop at the right time. I don't know what it is, but I am. I'm like, I love the Olympics, both winter. I watch the Winter Olympics. I don't even understand half those things where they're shooting down the shoots on their backs on ice. I'm like, go on, win. Like, I want us to win at everything. And yeah, if we had to have a manager that had a different type of passport to do it for us, it's amazing. Plus, it would be kind of ironic if after everything our country's done from a government point of view in the last 5-6 years, we had a foreign manager that brought home it'd just be funny. There's another super chat here says the problem with England is they don't let young players develop straight away, giving them these labels that they can't live up to. I understand that, but I don't know how. I don't know if any of you have lived anywhere else. How different is that in other countries? Like if there was an 18-year-old Argentinian with long brown hair and he was twining man up on a pitch and he's 18, surely their media and their the new Messi or the new Maradona. Well, Messi when he first came out was called the new Maradona. None of us knew how he was going to turn out, but I swear everyone does it. I don't think it's a specifically one thing I'm more encouraged about when it comes to England is I feel like our players now are more technically gifted. And even though we had Gerrards and Lampards and Beckhams, I think now footballers seem a little bit more subtle on a ball. Mm-hmm. That's where I think the issue comes down to. But yeah, I also think more of our players need to go and play abroad. I
think the issue is when it goes bad for other countries, there's still a bit of support. When it goes bad here, all the media's on the players' back straight away, and it can kill them. It can ruin them mentally.
That's the fans are on players' backs as well. It's not the media is terrible, but the fans are just as bad.
Do you remember when we used to talk about not talking about this bunch of England players, but in the past, a lot of the excuses as to why England used to foul. Not only was it the manager's faults, but it was about our players not being technical enough, not being gifted enough, not being able to be like Spain, for example. Remember Spain when they were winning and they were dominating, and the excuse was, it's because they're technical. It's because when they were young, they were playing, at a younger age in Barcelona's and Real Madrid's training grounds and whatever. We always used to throw that thing at us about not having technical players. I feel like we have technical players now. It's just, what I mean? I just feel like we haven't got that manager.
I think the plus side for us is that our younger players now are getting more experience playing first team football. Back in the day, most of the players just didn't. So we always had to stick to that first 11 where we knew our first 11 when it's going out. There's no one that you think, maybe he can come in and just give us a bit of X factor and things like that. But now you can call up on the likes of Sancho's, Grealish.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I think it's just a conundrum, isn't it? And a lot of the time, England foul. There's too much pressure on them. Listen, the South American nations, there's serious pressure down there. I'm sure there's pressure across Europe as well.
Terry, I've lived in Morocco, right? And Ziyech, the way they talked about him, talking about him coming up, it's like he was the next coming of Messi. Even Salah, I know a lot of Egyptians, they worship him. Like the pressure on him to actually perform because he's from Europe, right? He's from Liverpool. And for example, in the last World Cup, he got hammered in the media by the Egyptians. He got hammered.
Yeah, it's what I find. I've said this for 3 or 4 years on socials. I've never understood people, and I don't care where they're from, that choose. Everyone has a choice here to support English clubs in an English league and predominantly watch English football, moan about the focus being on English football. I find that very strange. I just find it's like, I don't, I'm not, if I go and watch an American sport, imagine it not centering around American culture and American sport. It'd be very weird. You know what I mean? Why are we not talking about Australia when I'm watching the Cowboys play? I don't know. Maybe I'm the weirdo here. I don't get it. I
think we're just toxic. That's it. All it is. When you're not winning anything, and Spain can get away with it, like the media doing that because they've had recent history. But England's coming a lot like Arsenal. You're not winning anything, so you get a bit toxic. Yeah, and that's just the way I see the English fans.
Toxic.
Yeah, I hear you on that. The comment here says the English press is moronic, though, barring. But then don't read it. If you don't read it, you can't be bothered by it, can you? It's really not hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't listen and read any of it, really. Or I'm not bothered by any of it. I've got my own brain. Like I don't need a professional pundit to tell me what's what. I just don't, or a journalist. I do read a lot of it. But there we go. Super chat here says, Terry, everyone is the same, but in England they don't know the difference between world class, good, and average. So you're telling me there is not a Spanish person out there that gets hyped? You don't think there's a Spanish person or a Brazilian or an American or Australian or a Nigerian person who doesn't overhype or underplay? Come on, we're all
we call Iwobi. We compare him to Messi and stuff. So yeah, we're all a fan.
Do you really? As in, like, do Nigerian people do that?
Well, yeah. Like Iwobi's a descendant of Okocha and stuff. So like he's heralded as like our guy, essentially our talisman. So
okay, there we go. I didn't quite know that.
Same with Salah of Egypt.
To be fair, he does play well.
For Nigeria, though.
Wasn't John Obi Mikel like the Makalele, like classed as a Makalele of Nigeria or something?
He wore the number 10 for Nigeria. Yeah.
Listen, I tried to argue with an Egyptian about Salah's bad game. He tore my head off. He's like, "What do you mean? The bad game? Never had a bad game. He scored like 20 goals. Do you know what I mean? That's how it works, man."
Mate, and do you know what it is? It's I don't know really. We don't have enough players that play abroad. But I feel like, again, if we had more English players abroad, we'd find ourselves that maybe defending them a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Because like, no, he's one of ours. He's over there. It's just natural, and it's sport. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't care less about any of these borders when it comes to life. I just care about it when it comes to sport. But there we go. Everyone who's tuned in, I know Ram, you're backstage. Sorry, mate. We're coming to the end of the show, my guy. I'm very, very sorry. Everybody that's tuned in, a massive thank you. We're back tomorrow with more content. It's Friday tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone so quick. No. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the Football Terrace, and we'll see. Thank you to all the super chatters again as